Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we couldn't have picked a better day for it. Absolutely brilliant. As Andy said, my name's Mike Heffernan, and I'm 62 years of age, and I'm a retired local government officer. And I've lived all my life on the Rock, which is what the locals call Barry Island. And for my sins, as Andy said, I am the current chairman of the Barry Island Historical Group. I was asked by Andy to take part in this inaugural event, and I was rather distracted at the time, and I foolishly said yes. I was actually standing up on top of that platform watching a band last week, and it was part of the Barry Jazz Festival. And Andy gave me a card, or he gave me a flyer, and I sort of convinced myself that it was the 30th of July was the event, and in fact it was the 30th of June, so I was panicking a bit over the weekend. And it was even greater shock when I actually read this flyer in detail, and it said these talks were going to be delivered by local inspiring people and speakers from the Professional Speakers Association of Wales. Well, I'm definitely not a member of that association, and I hadn't considered myself to be particularly inspiring. More like perspiring on a day like today. But the one good thing is at least I'm local. Anyway, with only a 10-minute slot, obviously any hope to give you the history of Barry Islands is out of the question. So what I intended to do today was just give you a little bit of the history of the Barry Island Historical Group, what it does, what it's trying to achieve, and some information which I hope you will find interesting about today's venue and the climbing wall that you've all probably seen on the promenade. Right, well, the Barry Island Historical Group is a purely amateur organisation and a voluntary organisation. It was founded in 1994 by a group of rather elderly Barry Island residents who thought it might be a good idea to start if the history of Barry Island and the pivotal role it's played in the history of the town could be captured for posterity and for future generations of Barry Island residents to enjoy. They started out by collecting anything and everything connected with the island: pictures, postcards, books, magazines, newspapers, and we've still got them. We've got about 47 boxes of stuff in the Barry Island Community Centre which we've yet to sort through. They also started to collect from elderly residents at the time their personal reminiscences about living on the Rock, on the island. And some of those accounts date back to the events and activities in the 1920s and the 1930s and provide a fascinating insight to that bygone age. Sadly, by the middle of the noughties, most of the founder members of the group had either passed away or were too infirm to carry on the task, so the group went into a kind of limbo for a while. But the group was never formally disbanded, the bank accounts remained intact, and it was reconstituted in 2011, and the new management committee established to carry on the traditions that had been created by the founder members. This is therefore our 21st anniversary, which makes us one of the oldest local history groups in the area. We have our own Facebook page at the moment, and we have over 2,500 photographs in various albums for people to enjoy. So if you are on Facebook, look us up. I believe that groups like ours play a very important role in the life of the community it serves. They provide a link between the present and the past, a sense of belonging to a community that is constantly evolving through time, and an outlet for ordinary people to share information, their photographs, and above all their memories with others who are equally proud of where they live. Working with local schools, groups like ours can give young children a lot of information about the history of a town or a village that might not be available in textbooks, and hopefully a lifelong interest in their home patch. Now, I did promise you some information about today's venue, and it's a bit of a whistle-stop trip, I know, but here it is. In 1905, shortly after the real start of the tourist development on Barry Island was underway, 2 terraces of stone bathing cubicles were constructed, and you were actually sitting on the roof of the cubicle on the eastern side of the Whitmore Bay, and these were for men only. The cubicles on the western side were for women and children. They were demolished in the 1980s, but they were virtually opposite where we're sitting at the moment. Men were not apparently allowed to congregate in front of the ladies' cubicles. but they were allowed to stand on the roof, on his flat roof. And I suspect that on a day like this, it was standing room only on the top of that roof. I also gave you an indication that I would try to explain something about the climbing wall in terms of Gordon Young. The artist himself, a gentleman by the name of Gordon Young, prize-winning artist and sculptor, was commissioned by the council to do that wall. His inspiration came from the fact that to my left, when this regeneration started, there was a shop, or the structure of a shop left, and the only thing that was on that shop, on the facade, was Toy Factory. Now he came to our exhibition, photographic exhibition in 2013, and he asked me, was there ever a toy factory on Barry Island? And I said, as far as I knew, there wasn't. But nevertheless, he took that inspiration as the toys as his inspiration for the climbing wall. The toys exploding out, if you like, out of the past into the present. And that was where that came from. That was the inspiration of the climbing wall. And that's probably the end of my, I hope that was 10 minutes. How long was that? I didn't time it, was about 6 or 7 minutes. There are better speakers than me here this afternoon, but I hope you all enjoy this inaugural event. It's a nice day for it. Much better speakers coming on. Enjoy the rest of the day. And I hope this event carries on. Okay? Okay?
Seriously, thank you. The best speakers speak from the heart, yeah? Brilliant. We have another round.
Well, thanks.
So, a couple of things. People visit you on Facebook.
Yep.
And obviously any photos. And
they can either submit them. If anybody wants to upload any photographs to the page, they can. And I always give, unlike some Facebook pages, I always give credit for the people who gave them to us. If people want to contact me directly, they can through the Facebook page. If they want to give me Facebook photos, I can scan them.
Yeah.
I've always returned every photograph that I've ever had. No, I don't, that's not a problem. And if any of you are on the island in and around about the end of August, the bank holiday, we always conduct a photographic exhibition in the Barry Island Community Centre. Admission is free, the raffles cost, but you're all more than welcome. So, good afternoon. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
I'm taking to the trade description because he was inspiring. Fantastic.